Good morning, Newcastle. It's really good to be here. Hello, friends. So, a couple of points. Firstly, if you find this is not as exciting as you thought, you're welcome to go to the other track. I won't be offended. Feel free to do that. I had hoped to make it a bit interactive, and so let's do that. You know, why not? So, I'd like to play a little game with you all right now. So, firstly, we're going to play the little fish game, and every now and then the fish will jump up, and when it does, I'd like all to just do a single clap. Right? Okay, let's play. Ready? Very good. Okay, let's go in. Okay, that was rubbish. Okay, let's play a different game. Okay, so if you've ever put your sock on the wrong way round, inside out, please raise your hand. Okay, I'd like you now to keep your hand raised for the duration of this talk. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to the citadel of NPM, where, it's okay, I'm joking, you can bring it down now. Thank you, I appreciate your dedication. Where we are going to crash land. Yeah! There are other ecosystems out there, but I've got so much material, I just thought we'd just kind of bum into NPM today. So all the backgrounds are AI generated, pixel art for the win. And so I'm going to have a little bit of a look around. What do we find here? Obviously, this wonderful server rack. This comes up onto our heuristics for high entropy. I scratch my head and think, okay, what is this? What could this be? Well, it turns out, okay, well, there's no information on NPM here. There's no README. It turns out somebody is using NPM as like an S3 object storage, putting all sorts of random blobs of data in every single day, loads of commits, loads of packages, loads of stuff. Someone tells me that this is a VPN provider. I'm not quite sure, but I'd love to know what that data is. So as well as malware, which this isn't, we come across all sorts of fun and exciting things. But yeah, I wouldn't have thought of using NPM as object storage, but there you go. Okay. Here's a piece of code. Fortunately for you all today, it's JavaScript, which is quite readable. And I think this is why we see a lot of activity in the NPM ecosystem, because it's quite accessible. Anybody can code in this technology. But also, if you think about it, it doesn't matter what your back end is, whether that's Java, .NET, Rust, whatever. Your front end is very likely to be using Node.js or front-end technologies like React, Angular, etc. And so, because of that, we see so much stuff in this world. So here we've got some code. It says it's harmless. Okay? It's dropping some host information to a file. It's using a variable called proof file. So anybody done OSCP much? Yeah? No? And then there's this get stealth path. So that's about as far as I got when I was looking into this. And I said, you know what? That's malicious enough. Real researchers would dig in a bit further and find out what it's actually doing and how it's activated. But we come across all kinds of scopes of stuff, really, from nation state to junk to this guy. Okay, so what is this? This is a package.json file, which is actually the manifest. I should pay attention to the time for 5 minutes. Okay, yeah. This is a manifest data for a NuGet package or JavaScript package. And these manifests have an ability to run scripts when you install them. So if you were to go and acquire yourself the blockchain recover package, you'd be in for a nasty shock because it's going to output an alarming message on your console saying that your Bitcoin fund have been locked. It's not really doing anything really bad computationally, but it's a little bit frightening. If you were to see that, it's unwanted, so we would say that's malware. See the whole gamut of stuff from naughty programs to just really awful junk to, like I say, some really fancy stuff. But I wanted to show you this to talk about these pre-installed scripts, because the thing about the NPM ecosystem is it is absolutely heaving. There's just so much activity. Somebody built a left pad package before they realized that it was actually part of the language. And it really is one of these kinds of XKCD kind of scenarios where all of the stuff is built upon these dependencies And if any one of them breaks or gets removed or gets jacked with malware, like for example here, if we put some malware in here, then we could potentially attack all of this stuff. If you were to go and try and install something like React today, you might use something like Vite to do that. And then when you do this to get your starter project, you'll find that it's going to drop about 230 odd of these packages on your file system, 92 megs, which was about 196 of these package manifest files, of which one of them happened to execute, which was esbuild. Talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But yeah, you just try and do a little thing in this ecosystem and you're having to pull a lot down. And with that, you're pulling in a lot of risk. Because if any one of those 235 packages was compromised, you could be in for some fun. Now here's the thing about NPM. When you install stuff with npm-i, it doesn't actually output all the things that you would expect. So here I've got an example package where I've got a package called A that depends on B, and B has an install script. You wouldn't see that in the output when you install A, unless you enable this foreground scripts. So there's my first piece of advice. If you are dealing with an environment where you're dealing with Node.js, I would definitely set this foreground scripts argument on, because that's going to help with logging, should that be useful if you do find yourself in a compromised situation. Okay, what have we got here? Yeah, okay, so this kind of thing you see all the time, every day. Here is an object containing some useful information, including the entire directory listing of your C drive, your home drive, whatever. And then they are sending that off to rt11.ml. I can't remember what that TLD is now. I did know at one point. But you're okay, yeah, so long as your machine is one of these. If you're Lily PC, anybody Lily PC, you're fine. So make sure your computer is called Lily PC, have a Russian keyboard installed, you'll probably be okay. This is very standard. See this, I see about 20 of these a day. And actually we're funding this stuff, and protecting our customers, from it, sometimes weeks, months before NPM would get around taking them down. A little bit more about it later. So yeah, you get this quite a lot. This is quite your kind of standard level stuff. Data exfiltration. Okay, this is a good one. So where's malware here? Okay, we've got some node binary that's been used. But what if I told you this file is actually 12K, right? What's going on there? That doesn't look like 12K to me. It's this pipe. If we were to select this pipe, that's 4,000 non-printing characters. Nice. Which, when you extract, decode, is this obfuscated JavaScript payload, a little bit of base64 there. Eventually this becomes a Google Calendar invite link. And you can imagine where that leads to. That's not what we want. Okay, so this is a funky one we saw a couple months ago. Actually, when I first joined the team, we just found this. This was pretty cool. So I looked at this and scratched my head and I thought, okay, well, what can you make of this? Tried to join some dots together, but then somebody smarter than me said, well, this is just JavaScript destructuring. Of course. JavaScript destructuring, I think it's still okay, is when you take an object and you essentially assign the left hand from the right. So when you toString an empty object, you get object. And all I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, take the first index, which is an O, because the 0th object is a square. A bit of a shit going on there. Get it old now, I guess. Anyway, I'm pulling out the foo and the bar, which are at the positions of the O and the O, to, it's Halloween, so just around the corner. But that's object destructuring, so that's what they've done. But the thing is, oh no, don't go do that. The thing is, you've got to ask yourself, well, that isn't necessarily malware. People love to do obfuscation, but also NPM is open to all sorts of people, hobbyists, fun. This could be somebody's side project. But anyway, somebody picked it apart. And what we found, 12 layers of obfuscation, lots of binaries, a lot of technologies here, right? So, downloading binaries from firewall.tel, some PowerShell to disable some stuff in Windows Defender, some .NET DLLs, all that to drop a pulsar rat. Now, I should only hope, and I didn't quite take this out, but I should hope that the Defender exclusions were for that, otherwise that's absolutely terrible execution. Like, all this work, 12 layers of onion shells to unpeel, just to drop pulsar. Okay, that's obviously malicious. You don't want that. We did a write-up on this on our webpage there. So you may have seen in recent news about this supply chain attack. Hands up, you've kind of, okay, cool. Well, I thought we'd kind of go into that. I had other stuff to talk about, but this perhaps a bit more pressing. Thank you. Yeah, Quicks. So Josh is an open source contributor. He's got a number of repositories, pile of packages. Josh, he got this email, right? Some ongoing security thing updated to 2FA. Can we click that? Yeah, he got pawned. Oh dear. Now, the thing about Josh getting pawned was that he maintains this package. Anybody familiar with this? One single person. Right. Okay. Well, I use it, and there's a couple versions out, I think. I don't think I got here. But for those in the ecosystem that do use JavaScript, Chalk is really popular to do console colors, because obviously whenever you do any kind of application these days, you need that amazing ASCII art, the color, all of that is first and foremost any kind of console application. Yeah, this is a big deal, because Chalk is used by a lot of people. Akia Security did a good write-up on this. I think they're the ones that found it. We found Rap ANSI, I think, about the same time they did. I wasn't quick to the blog posts on that one. But here's what happened to Josh. He had a stressful week. And this phishing could happen to anybody, right? We get busy. We're human. But fortunately for us, and thank you to Josh, he was very quick to respond to this. And the internet pretty much shut this attack down within 2 hours. What it was an interesting attack that put a payload it was designed not to execute on installation, but when it's used, it tries to hijack the browser in order to steal crypto. It's targeting users that visit infected sites. Quite interesting. Quite complex. Maybe a bit of a problem there. But it wasn't just Josh that got compromised. DuckDB and other popular repositories were compromised. Loads of packages. Where's to say that most organizations out there use this stuff? They have 2 billion downloads. So the biggest supply chain attack in history, well, not according to VX Underground. They didn't make a lot of money. They only took, I think, a grand, perhaps because of the complex chain of all the things that we have to align for them to steal your crypto, right? You have to have crypto, have an extension in your browser, browse to one of these sites that just so happen to have been, yeah, right. Okay. Cool, unicorn. NX recently got compromised as well. So this is going back a couple more weeks. They got compromised, and what happened here was an LLM prompt injection type attack. So someone jacked this up after compromising the account with some malware that asks your locally installed LLM to exfiltrate any secrets you might have, put them in the local file. How handy is that, right? LLM assisted attacking. That was novel. That was fun. And of course, they're turning off these safeties as well to do that. And then they do this little tricky bit as well, where they say, well, okay, maybe we've got these secrets now. Let's just drop this little shutdown in your HRC, just a little bit of a cherry on top. But the thing is, this came back last week, didn't it? And Socket were quick to pick up on this, because the same threat actor that did that decided, here's what we'll do. We'll take out the LLM bit and we'll put TruffleHog in, which is an open source secret scanning tool. They put that in, they compressed down, I called it bundle.js. Nice. But yeah, shut that down. But here's the thing. They also turned into a worm. And what they did, according to this screenshot from Aikido, is they basically made the malware look for any of the packages that the person owns, and to just increment the version and to just put this bundle.js in there. But it also does this wonderful thing where when it republishes it, it creates a funky zip where we have multiple files, multiple identical file names, but with different contents. And this caused me a lot of pain because we weren't prepared for that. So there were loads of bundle.js files. The first one happened to be benign, and so it didn't immediately flag for me. But the other ones were. But yeah, we learned quickly. But that was lovely. Thank you for that. I don't quite know what the output of that is, because this is stealing secrets rather than crypto. If it was crypto, we could maybe trace the wallets. Stealing secrets, maybe something will come out the back of it. One thing I can tell you is that this is definitely going to be more popular now, right? These kinds of attacks. So widespread account compromise, widespread wormification. I already saw just the other day somebody was trying to create their own worm. It was definitely a copycat because all this was obfuscated. So someone's trying to create their own. Yesterday, we were seeing that people are trying attacks on Python registry. So Python account compromise, 2FA type email phishing type thing on there. So all the ecosystems are facing this. It's just, this is the easiest one to target. The entry level is so low. So I tell NPM about some of this, and they make me fill out this form and prove that I'm a human. And I say to them, NPM, have you got an easier way for people that find this stuff every day? And they're like, yeah, no. So I find so much stuff. I don't tell NPM all of it because it's just day to day. I'd like to, but I'm not going to fill that in, or I wouldn't be able to do the other stuff. So yeah, that's NPM ecosystem. So yeah, these post-install hooks are a problem. I should probably speed up a little bit. Most of the time, we see people using that as a way to attack people. But generally speaking, when it isn't malicious, all people using these post-install hooks are using them for are just for logging. Very rarely do we actually see anything useful being done. Typically, people would download a binary from some random website, which is annoying and frustrating. But I think in the main, that is kind of where a lot of this kind of stuff happens. I see all sorts. I see all manner of reverse shells, from the most basic to some really fancy ones, including a reverse shell as a service, and other such fun. Yeah, so takeaways. What can we do? I've got to give you something if I made you sit through all this. What can we take from this? Thank you. If you have to use NPM, let's put ignore scripts on and forward scripts. Now, if you put ignore scripts on, if you remember that ES building will probably fail, because ES-build is a Golang binary, and ES-build wanted to go and acquire that binary to do its thing. But hey, I think if you're in an enterprise, it's not a bad idea to just slap that on. And if something fails to build or fails to work, maybe on a case-by-case basis, we could say, right, maybe we'll take that off, or we'll find a ways. Okay, you need this dependency. Maybe we'll brew install it. Maybe we'll curl install a different way. But that's not bad going. You can also put these things in a .npmrc file, ignore scripts. That's probably good. But you can also use PNPM. I just found out about this. By default, PNPM will not execute scripts. And it has this really cool feature that they've recently added to say minimum release age. It's 2 days. Because you see, the lifespan of malware is a single day. We see it, we shut it down, all that in the space of a day. Those other campaigns, you saw these huge worms. We globally, I say we, the community, the industry, the people, thanks Josh, we shut all that down within 2 hours. Yeah. So if you hold off getting the latest versions for 2 days, I think that's not bad going. Always use a VM, especially if you're doing a job interview. We've been tracking a North Korean campaign where they are targeting people with crypto and doing job interviews. So as part of the job interview, you have to do a kata, you have to do a test, you've got to do some stuff, and then this logging, it's always a logger. This logging library will go and steal all your Solana, use a VM. You can do manual code reviews, but if you can imagine, we saw thousands, well not thousands, we saw 100 packages just for one single thing you would pull in. Now, no one's going to just go live with one single template default, or maybe they would, with like React. You're going to put other stuff in, like leftpad, right? But yeah, you could manually review these. Look for exec calls. Exec is like the thing that keeps me in the job these days. And those install hooks. You could have me do it. Veracode does have a product, a package file. Well, other vendors are producing these as well. But this isn't a sales pitch. There are solutions available. Akido has something called, I think, SafeChain, which is an open source thing. And I wanted to leave some career advice, which is good. I think we've got time. AI generated. Love that. So how did I get here? I said to my boss, I said, hey, I need a change. And then he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I'm really interested in malware. And he's like, what do you mean malware? I said, malware reversing. Oh, right. Okay, cool. No problem. Good. And Veracode had recently acquired a top-notch company called Phylum, who are really cool. And I said, I'm interested in what they're doing. And he said, well, why don't you reach out? And I said, no. I said, no, Bill, because they said that they've got enough people. And he said, I should. So I did. And they were really excited that I was interested in what they were doing. So much so that they said, hey, if you want to do this, go for it. And so we got set up so that I could do this during my lunch break. So I'm helping them, right? So that happened for a month. And then there was a reorganization of sorts. And then naturally slide in. Some career advice for you is to do a little bit of the sliding in, right? Everybody wants to be on the red team, but you're not getting on the red team because it's coveted, right? But the way to get in there is by supporting the red team, by making relationships, by talking to people, by building tools. Not to the extent where you're breaking your back over it, but so that when people have the conversations, who would be the next candidate, that your name comes up, maybe. Relationships are where it's all at, which is why events like this conference today, is a great opportunity for you to talk to the vendors, to talk to different people you didn't come here with today, and make those relationships, have those conversations, because you never know where they take you, because that's kind of been my journey. And I think I'll leave it there. Thank you. Any questions? That's enough. Oh, yep.
So with the NPM packages when they first came out, did you catch all the initial badness just from the manual review? I didn't catch that bit.
Yeah, it's been recorded, right? Okay, cool. All right, okay. So the question was, did we catch all that stuff? Yes and no. So where I am, we have all these tools that kind of mark the malware with different classifiers, yeah, high entropy, yeah, uses exec calls, yeah, has a history of naughtiness. And so I manually reviewed a lot. It's just constant coming in and I'm reviewing it, my team were reviewing it. And what happened with that last malware, with that jacked up gzip file, was we didn't actually see that ourselves, initially. I'm not going to lie, I didn't. Because when we looked at the zip, we looked at the first file, which was benign. But then another security company found it. And we're like, oh yeah. Because it didn't come onto my radar. Because the only packages that I review are those that have sufficient dirtiness about them. I'm not going to review absolutely every single package that's pushed out there. There's just too many. Because I have to cover other ecosystems as well. But yeah, I kind of kicking myself that kind of missed that particular one. But as soon as we got wind of it, because I'd have lots of threat intel feeds, we shut that right down. And now we're looking for it every day. So we learn something bad, build a little shape to detect it, and push that out and protect our customers. So not as quick to respond to that one as I would like. But with the others, as soon as you drop an eval in, I'm seeing you. I see a lot of people, they try and do like aging type things, and they'll try something and undo it, and they'll put something in and undo it. But it doesn't matter how long you leave it, I'm going to find it and shut that down. And for me to do what I do here, I don't need to see dirtiness per se. I just ask a simple question. Do our customers want this in their enterprise? Yes, no. It's quite straightforward for that. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
So, I'm still confused with the size of the pipe character in the file.
Oh yeah.
So, why was that pipe so big?
Yeah, I thought that as well.
So I missed something there.
No, you didn't say anything.
How do you embed that much? code in a single character in a script?
Good question. So I'm not going to lie, but when I came to make this screenshot, I couldn't quite work out how I'd selected a single character, like shift right. I actually don't know how that happened there. I'm a little bit confused. But this is UTF-8 encoded, and what's actually happening between the two string levels there is that there are non-printing Unicode characters. Mm-hmm. So if I change the file format from UTF-8 to something else, I can't quite remember what it was. I tried to figure that out for the talk. But if I were to copy that and paste it in my console, I'd see all of this. But I don't want to do that on my console and potentially infect myself. But yeah, if you change the file encoding, then what you would see is something not quite like this. This is the second step after.
Okay.
But yeah, drop me an email and I'll reply in a bit more details with the specifics of you.
Yeah, the non-printing Unicode. I need to go down a rabbit hole.
Sorry?
I need to go down a rabbit hole with non-printing Unicode.
Yeah, I start to look file sizes now these days. It's a bit of a rabbit hole. But we have heuristics now for that. I'm just going to get to the end slide. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, so we see something like that, like with the kanji. So we plumb in a kanji detector. We see the non-printing, so we plumb in a non-printing. It's just cat and mouse. There's always going to be another thing. Okay. Cool beans. I think we'll do that there. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Hope you all have a really good conference.